Hello and welcome back to the Wilkes-Barre Connect podcast, brought to you by Park Multimedia. The Wilkes-Barre Connect podcast is a series that brings in local entrepreneurs, council leaders, young professionals, and students that are leaving their mark on Northeast Pennsylvania. I'm your host, Dan Kimbrough.
We'll start off a little bit about just maybe talking about what we do. But first and foremost, I just wanted to get an idea of why did you guys pick this session to join?
And actually, can you guys go around and say your name and where you're from so we get an idea of who's in the room?
We're going to turn the tables on you guys. Just so we can learn a little bit, so we can, as we're talking, we can share, specific things that could maybe help you.
Just their name?
Yeah, name and where you're from and like what are you?
Mark Torres. I'm from Scranton originally, and I go to LCC. And this is the K-12, right, or education career. I just wanted to know more about the field because I'm not so familiar with it.
Okay.
And I wanted to see if I could learn something new or be interested in something in it.
Awesome.
That's why I'm here today.
That's great.
I'm Trinity Hull. I'm a student at LCC, and kind of similar to him, I'm interested, I've always been involved with children and the field of education, K through 12 and all that, so I was just also looking to learn a little more about what you guys have to say and your perspective on it.
Hi, I'm Dino. I'm with the American Cancer Society, but I work with the Coaches vs. Cancer campaign here in Northeast PA, so I do work with schools and teachers, and my background is in education. I had a 7th through 12th citizenship certification.
I know we got to connect, but Vivian from the Scranton Area Foundation, childcare, attainable and affordable childcare is one of our focuses. So I'm just interested in hearing from perspectives and connecting. And this is my colleague, Amy. We're just going around talking about ourselves. So Amy, she actually manages our Women in Philanthropy initiative, which is probably why she's also here too.
Yes,
exactly. Thank you.
Got it. Ditto.
Yeah,
got it.
So me, I'm Katie Spencer. I'm an 8th grader, Wyoming Valley Chamber of Commerce. I have a 13-year-old, so anything that has to do with education and just see what kind of advice I can give him, because college isn't for everybody, trade schools aren't for everybody, and he does want to own his own business one day. So anything that I can learn and take in and absorb for him, I will.
I'm Jenna Weiss. I am at Wilkes University. I'm our internship coordinator, so I'm interested on the career exploration piece. But I too am a mother. I have 2 children, so I'm interested in that. And I do coach junior high basketball as well on the other side of things, so I'm right in that age range too.
Great. Hello. Yeah.
Either one.
So I'm Erica. I work for the city of Scranton. So on my professional side, I handle the American Rescue Plan funding. The city was awarded almost $69 million. So I handle all those dollars. But we have certain money allocated towards childcare education programs. We actually have a multitude of different programs that we're doing. So obviously I know a little bit about it, but I want to learn more. And then in my personal life, I have 2-year-old twin boys. So obviously childcare has been challenging, trying to find childcare for them in the different roadblocks that I've hit. So I'd like to learn a little bit more about it.
Hi everybody, my name is Magnotta. I'm a junior at Wilkes University. I'm also an intern here at the Chamber of Commerce. I'm more interested in the career exploration of this roundtable, but I do have a younger brother who's in high school, and I know he's kind of trying to juggle his life right now, so I do want to take some insight back to him and just kind of guide him a little bit, because high school is tough, so.
Hi, my name is Gabby Torres. I'm a Penn State graduate, and I'm interested in this for the career exploration, and I've always struggled a bit with patience and teaching in general anyone, so I felt like education covering that would have given me some valuable information on how to tackle that.
Hi, I'm Yonda Nellyville from the Scranton Area Community Foundation. Manage the workforce initiative that includes the education and career pathway as well as connecting people to childcare, so it sort of ties both together.
My name is Morgan, and I really want to try to reinvigorate the passion surrounding education, specifically by either creating or highlighting different pathways future passionate educators can take either in high school or college to get to where they want to go to combat a multitude of different problems, but specifically the teacher shortage crisis that is coming our way. And I work with the Bridge the Gap program with Building Blocks Learning Center.
And I'm Daryl. I am marketing director at Reach'em. Just gave our business pitch.
That was good.
And I'm here because our goal as a company, we do game-based learning and instructional design, and we want to solve challenges that both students and teachers are, struggling with today. And to solve those challenges, we need to hear from people like you.
Right. Thank you, everybody, for sharing. I think both of us will go a little bit about who we are and what we do and how it relates to some of the things that you have shared. I am the president of Building Blocks Learning Center. I own the child care facilities. And a lot of times people are like, oh, so you're a daycare worker. I'm like, yeah, I am. When I first started, believe it or not, I was in the situation with you guys sitting in audiences. I was going to school for biology because I was going to go become a doctor, and I started watching kids on the side as my part-time job, watched them in the home. And honestly started loving it because I was like, oh my gosh, you could empower children, under the age of 5. They're just so malleable and you can kind of, they're sponges. Started doing that, loved it, did it out of my mom's house. And my mom, at one point after 5 years, she's like, girl, I got to sell my house. Can you go get a real job? I was like, what? And I stopped going to school as well. And I was like, what am I going to do? And I lived in Philly. And an opportunity came here in Wilkes-Barre. There was a child care center that closed down. And I'm not a business person. I didn't go to become an entrepreneur. I had no idea. And I didn't like working with adults. But the opportunity came. I got a credit card, $10,000, charged it, bought a business, and it's grown. My goal is to create an environment where we empower children. And then it has evolved into creating an environment where we empower women. And it's evolved into creating an environment where we empower the community. So I started with 6 kids, watching them in my basement. And now we have 1,000 children, 150 employees, and 13 locations with 2 on the horizon. So when you sit here trying to figure out what you want to do, it's not textbook. Sometimes shit happens on a good day and you're like, you found your passion and you run with it. As for education and what's happening here, we're at the cusp of doing something about it. COVID happened, and I think it brought education to the forefront that we have a very fractured system, education system. But now what are we going to do about it? There is so much growth and opportunity in so many different ways for people who are looking for a career, for you to change what education looks like, and then for you to offer opportunity for the up-and-coming students, because there's such a need for career exploration. Because the system is fractured, our education system is very conditioned to preaching to the test. You've seen art has been taken out, music, some places have been taken out. So we're not developing the child in a holistic approach. We're just kind of keeping them focused, so they have no idea what to do, where to go. So developing pathways, developing different opportunities for children, for students in high school and really middle school, because we've all been there. By the time you're in high school, you're kind of set in your ways. But we find between 5th and 8th grade, they're so malleable that if you're looking to inspire them or bring opportunities for them, that's the prime time. So that's kind of like my story in the sense that it started out as childcare. Now we're working on pathways where we're working with high school and college. We are collaborating with Wilkes University, that we're opening a location on their site to create a workforce lab school type of environment, because we see a need where, again, you're going to school but you don't get practical hands-on experiences. So can these students come into our facility and train on the job? And then we're working with high school students that they don't know what they want to do, but they don't have to become a teacher, but can we create a business? Because I think as a business, it's my responsibility that I should give back to the community. So can these young high school students come to us, or we go to them, and we show them what it's like to be an employee, where in turn, they're going to be good employees for, you as an employer. So I think there's a lot of opportunity. I think we're doing a lot. I think junior achievement, and you'll talk a little bit about what you guys are doing. We're synergistically, aligning because there's so much impact we can make. So it's a little bit about what I do and what we're doing.
Zubeen's a rock star, believe me.
Thank you.
So I'm Susan Magnotta. I'm with Junior Achievement. I've been here a little bit over a year. My background is after college. I went to college. So we're all about career exploration right now. We're really moving towards workforce development for kids through K through 12. We can go into the college space, but we're not there yet. I came on board last August. And I'd done development 6 years before that. I'd been out of the workforce actually for almost 14 years because we have 5 children. So I had 3 and rounded them off with a set of twins. So my kids go from ages 24 to 14. I have 2 freshmen and the 2 in college and 1 out. And junior, does anybody went to BizTown here? Yeah. Yes, and you won't hear it anymore because we don't have the building. So yeah, so BizTown, I know, it's really sad. It was amazing. It was like a Disneyland for kids.
Yeah.
So
amazing. I had my own account. I had a checkbook. I had a job.
Yep.
I think you're restructuring what it's going to
We're restructuring. So what happened was COVID, basically. It hurt education and it hurt the building. However, junior achievement here was largely focused on 5th grade programs. When we came on board, we decided, and it had its challenges, and I knew that when I took the position, and we decided, there were 2 of us at the time, that we had to try this career exploration Inspire. It's called Inspire Career Exploration Experience. It's out of other areas, and we started in the fall. We got a presenting sponsor, which was Rob Miracle, and a venue, which was the casino and convention center. Did not know if anyone was going to want to send kids, and there's a reason I'm telling you this, because we're listening to the market. We did not know if any companies were going to want to come, if the colleges were going to want to come. It's basically there was 9 different career clusters. It kind of organically came together, and it filled up. We had 1,500 kids come from 16 different districts, and we had to turn people away. There was over 70 exhibitors, and it was amazing. And the kids that came in were from it was Holy Redeemer was mostly public high schools, and Lackawanna and Luzerne County. They were amazing. The people showed up for them like there's no tomorrow. Like it was all hands on. Like they were suturing bananas at the Geisinger tent. There weren't tables with people handing out cards, and they were blown away. Everybody was blown away, and there was a green screen. And I'm telling you that the kids have not been exposed to this stuff for so long.
It's an untapped market.
It is. Yeah.
Yes.
Yes, so we're doing that for high school students. Again, this year we're expanding it to 2 days on April 16th and 17th. Then we piloted a month later. Everything's a pilot. A YES program. It's called Your Economic Success. We did it at GAR Memorial Middle School for 7th graders. So over 300 kids received. It's interactive. Same thing. It's like volunteers come into the classroom. They receive 4 different lessons. One's on the trades because we really are moving towards exposing kids to trades at a younger age so they have an understanding that you don't have to go to college. And we want kids that are going to go to college and graduate with a major that they like. So it's so important to have them have internships and exposure. One other thing we're doing, we're working with the Wilkes-Barre CTC. They have an early childhood program. Zubeen is working with them also. So there's a program called High School Heroes. So if you have a K through 5 program, you have a kit, and one's called Our Community, Our City. There's 5 lessons, and volunteers go into the classroom, and they teach the kids about money, about their community, the importance of relationships. And so those kids, we're in the process of piloting this with Pittston area. They're going to go in and teach, I think there's 10 juniors are going to go in and teach in a district, the kids. So they get practical teaching experience, and the kids get a junior achievement program. Tomorrow, once again, the internships are so important. We kick off this pilot program with GUARD called JA Company Insight, where Wilkes-Barre area juniors in the business school are going to go over to GUARD. All the departments are going to be ready for them because we're so fortunate we have such a huge company, national company, right in our own backyard is their headquarters. And they're preparing themselves to learn how to dress and how to speak and ask questions of all the different department heads. like a mini job fair for insurance. Then one of the guard employees is going to go into the classroom and teach this program called JA Company, or I'm sorry, it's called It's My Job. So it's already, the curriculum's done. The kids are going to learn how to present themselves, do a resume, think about all the skills that are specific to them. And then they're going to go learn more about guard and go back and do in February and do an actual job shadow. So those are some of the things that we're piloting. So far it's been successful, but we really, really, truly believe these kids need to be exposed to things. I was going to law school because my parents said, you should be a lawyer. You make a good lawyer being an English major. And I did. And then I was taking my LSATs my senior year. And I was like, I didn't even think about this. Like, I don't want to do this. Like, and nothing against lawyers, but so I went into pharmaceutical sales, but it was really hard. And it was very unfun process for me. And so my daughter just changed her major junior year to a teacher because we told her she's an athlete. You should be a PTOT. And she doesn't want to sit down and work with kids. So didn't ask her to talk to her boyfriend's mother, who is a physical therapist. Like, so the more like we expose these kids at an earlier age to think and get them thinking about themselves. And I'm telling you, this YES program, there's 5 school districts in Luzerne County that the poverty rate is above 50%. Not as many in Lackawanna County. But these kids are worried about eating. They're worried nobody's talking to them. And their parents could be working 3 jobs apiece. So when it is so, and I'll finish after this, the one lesson, so one's on the trades, one's on manufacturing, one's on career readiness, and one's on interview tips. It's like interactive games. I thought the one on career readiness was going to be, or exploration was going to be the most boring one. And so there's a packet that they fill out, and they score themselves. There's all different career clusters. They are so into this because it's about them. And then they go around, I just got chills. They go around the room, and there's 16 different career clusters, and they match themselves up, and they're standing against the wall, and they're like writing down what the education level is. And the one boy said, even the one lesson was on the trades, and they're thinking about things, and a lot of them definitely are going to be professional athletes. I don't know if you knew that, how many professional athletes are coming out of northeastern Pennsylvania, and they don't necessarily play the sport. So, and I said, so the little boy came up to put something on the wall, and I said, so what do you want to be? And he's like, NBA. And he just comes up to hear me. And he said, NBA. And I was like, what? He said, NBA. And I said, oh. I said, well, if that falls through, or you retire with the, I said, what would you think about doing after? And he's like, nothing. And so the thing went on. And he got into it. He's participating, and they talk about the trades. And so at the end, the person that was giving the lesson said, who wants to go into the trades? And he raised his hand and he said, I think I want to be a carpenter. So I don't know if that kid's going to be a carpenter, but he's actually thinking that he could do other things if the NBA potentially falls through.
Work out,
yeah.
But I don't know. I think, right now we're not tapping into it. So if you're looking for going to do something in the realm of impacting them, it's an open market because they're not getting that. And I think they're so hungry to get that. And I think we can shape the next generation by impacting them at a level if we create resources, if we create opportunity, because there is none. We assume that, oh my God, it's all set up. It is not, especially if you go into, they're great people working at the districts. They're great teachers working. But nationally, our system is, like I said before, fractured a little bit. So how do you fill that fracture? How do you stop that fracture is creating these resources. And I think we can't change the system, but we can add to it and bring value to it, that maybe we can pivot some of these students to figuring out what they want to do and then be great citizens in our community. So I know some of you are looking to see what does it do, or how can you connect with it. There is a lot of different ways, I think. Do you guys have questions as we're talking about it, or think of any clarification you need? Anything more, different aspects you want to hear about?
Go.
I'm a product of junior achievement back in the day, so I'm excited to see it in this region. And so what I'm hearing is a lot in Luzerne County. Is there a pilot happening in Luzerne with plans to move or expand it more regionally?
So Inspire was a pilot. We did include Lackawanna County schools. And yes, we're going to West Scranton and 2 other districts, possibly 3. So I think we're going to do 10 YES programs this year. So we're a 13 county region, but I come from pharmaceutical sales background where 80% of your business comes from 20% of your doctors. So we had to get really good at a couple things.
Before you expand.
Before we expand. So, yeah, so we are going into Lackawanna County.
It's a matter
it's
of
about
time.
60-40 for those yeah. So I personally, and it's just off the cuff, it's all about relationships. So I personally have more relationships down here. So we're building it up there, and yes. And we're like Tuncanac's coming on board next, that's Wyoming County, and then we'll grow from there.
Yeah, so what are like the major grades you guys are going to be focusing on, or is it just like all of high school? Like, is it like freshmen, sophomores, like what? Yeah.
So last year for Inspire, we just wanted kids there, so we didn't give the schools much direction. They handled it differently, but they feel like sophomore, junior is a good, because of the seniors are kind of know what they're doing, to send to Inspire. So that's the career discovery event. 7th grade seems to be the sweet spot for YES program. In York, this is right out of York, Pennsylvania, they're actually 5th in the country for the number of students program. They're really, really killing it. This program is exclusive to York, the YES program, and when they go into a building, it's 6th, 7th, and 8th grade. And the president there thinks like, we were so exhausted last May after pulling this off, and it was that he's like, you don't even know how great it is until you do a whole building. But we're not there because it's a volunteer-driven program, so we have to get like 35 volunteers for the program that's in 2.5 weeks, and we're getting there. You know what I mean? We did it. We pulled it off so far. And then in K through 5, there's some of the districts have it. The districts that have it are the districts that have PTOs that say like, give us the kits, and we're going to have the parents go in and teach it. So a lot of the big public school districts don't have that in place. So we are moving towards a model where we want to pay a bilingual, someone that's bilingual to actually go into like the it's not the Hazleton district, Hanover district, so that those kids get junior achievement programs too, because it's harder to get volunteers. Mm-hmm. Does anyone have like a fail story like mine, like that like that?
Oh, it was definitely me. Yeah, I went in thinking, so I'm obsessed with history. History is my passion, right? So I went to high school, and I'm not going to tell anybody my age here, but I went into high school, I was obsessed with history, worked at, people might know, Tobian Army Depot. So my family worked at the depot, and I just thought to myself, well, I'll go to college, and I'll go for what I love, my passion, right? So I went for history, that was my major. I went into the depot, I worked at the depot for about 18 years. I left because of my children. I had my boys, and I wanted to change, and obviously it was during COVID. So I moved into municipality, so I work for the city as granted, but it is completely different than what I started with. At the depot, I moved into multiple different positions, and it was almost not a failed position for me. I don't want to call it that, because it definitely gave me my stepping stones, but I'm able to get into a whole different realm, and I'm learning so much. I'm able to work with wonderful organizations like Scranton area, and be able to partner with different areas throughout the city. I'm a project manager now. I never thought I would be a project manager a day in my life, and I absolutely love the position. I love the people I work with. So I don't want to call it a failed, but it is nothing what I thought I would be doing. I thought I'd be working at the depot for the rest of my life, which again, it's not a bad position to have. It's a really good, it's steady. Who knows, I may go back there when I'm done. But everybody, once you're in the depot, it's kind of, you stay there. It's a depot to leave. And I left. And the grass was green on the other side for me, which I thought, but it was a major, major adjustment.
I don't know, I think it's good to have awareness that I think, whatever you sign up for, your career is an evolution, and you got to be in that space, and it's okay. And I think the self-discovery of that is always exciting. I think sometimes people get in a job and they're scared to change, or that's what you went to school for. But I think keep your options open, because you might eventually, whether it's the second year out of college or 50 years out of college, something clicks and you find the right path. And I think the joy comes is when you find the right path, and whatever, you could be the cashier somewhere or run a business. I think there's no definition or judgment on that, but you just have to explore and find it.
I have no comment, but I have to head out.
Yeah,
and I just didn't want to be rude and just like,
Yeah.
So thank you for your being here. Thank you. Have a good day. Thank you so much.
Sure, I think growing up, I don't think one person ever asked me if I were going to college. It was just, where are you going for college? And that conversation was never had with me, and so I just blindly went and sort of floundered around. And so I think now that I have my own children, I will be having those conversations because it has shifted. And while I do hold education at a very high value and a high place, we have to open up the conversation for other pathways.
Yeah.
And education looks different, I think, today than it did growing up back in the day, you know? So I think we should be open to it. And sorry, go ahead.
Oh, no, I was going to say, Susan, I'm with you. I was going to be an attorney when I was in high school. I wanted to major in political science, and I checked that box off every junior and senior year for colleges. And by the time I graduated college, I had the opportunity to work study in our institutional advancement department, which at first was said development. I said, I don't want to work on the grounds, which I didn't realize it was institutional advancement, and I just had a love for that. I went on and got my master's, but I think one thing that I've always learned is like, go towards your skill set and what like fulfills you, right? It's not necessarily a job title. And I think even in my current role now at the Scranton Area Foundation, some days I don't know what my job title is. You just keep doing it because it fulfills like your need of what you want in a job, not necessarily the title of the job, you know.
I know some people are parents here, you know, and you're like, well, I'm not in education, but you're a parent. What can you do is be an advocate for your child, because I think we have to raise the standards and the bar of what education looks like, and it comes from demanding that from our districts, our community, that we need to create better opportunities for our students. So again, in turn, they can be better citizens. But as you look at what kind of career jobs are there in this field, there's a lot. But the number one thing is giving exposure to the young generation coming up. So if you're in the tech world, how do you market that? If you're in the psychology world, how do you support that? There's so many different ways to tie in education, because I think education is built into the fabric of our community. But how can each different jobs, you know, add and contribute to it? So for us, it's been the avenue of empowerment. For us, it's the avenue of bringing businesses to these students, because they have no idea the potential that they have or the impact it can make. So I think that's been giving us a lot of joy and crazy at the same time, because it's such an untapped market to go ahead and bring this to the students. So.
Question is probably for both of you. For the younger generation, as in like my children, so they're 2.5, they'll be 3. How are you preparing? Obviously, you can't really prepare that young, but how do you make sure that these kids growing up are able to kind of connect with the evolving world? Because they said this morning in our keynote speaker that so many jobs will not be here in the future. So it's like, how do you prepare for that? And then also your avenue working with high school kids, obviously that's a little bit more difficult because they're in it now. So how do you like prepare on both ends?
I think, believe it or not, you can prepare 2, 3, and 4-year-olds. And how you do that is to create the love for learning. And how do you do that, and how we do that, is to instill a self-respect. Because a lot of times people are like, oh, they know their letters, numbers, and shape. It's really not the product, it's the process. So when they're young, when we're teaching students how to self-soothe, when we're teaching students how to develop their attention span, follow direction, listen, those are fundamental skills you need at 18. So it's really important. One, I'm an advocate of early education. I know if you have the support and you can, leave them with family, that's great, but there comes a time, especially before kindergarten, to put them in early educational programs. Why? Because when they get into kindergarten, they're in a group of 30 students and they're herded around and their individualism doesn't get developed. So if you get an opportunity, put them in, qualified programs. I impress that, because I know you were saying you're going to talk to your kids now. It starts from the beginning. And I think as for jobs, and you can answer that as well, I think we have to be very conscious of not training kids with a skill set, because like you said, those jobs might not exist. But if you change them with, like you said, the love, the learning, the passion, to try, to it's okay to fail, to be self-reliant, those are skills that can transcend any kind of job, if you agree with that.
So it's interesting. So it's maybe some advice. This is my take on parenting. So people will say to me, like, pretty good kids. And I say thank you. I'm very, very blessed to have good kids. And but I think like talking to them, I expect a lot of them in terms of manners and respect of other people, and how they dress and I don't make them dress up, but that is showing respect. Yes, and that's like showing respect. Like I told the Wilkes-Barre area class, I said, I got dressed today. I said, because for you, and I said, I put on heels. And I go, I wore these for the entire Inspire event all day. I said, but I could have like not, and not that, but I said I wanted to like show them that like this is how you dress in business. And I said, I try and tell my kids that, and I let them fail. So my kids, not that they failed out of school, but I would sit with my oldest, because I think that's a really good point. When she was in 4th grade, and she would be, and she's smart, like laying over the table because I was making her do her homework, and I was like, wait a minute, she's fighting me to do this. I go, I'm taking myself out of the equation, and I said, Nina, if you don't get a good grade on this, I said, you're going to have a consequence, but I'm not going to sit here and make you do it. And eventually, and it took even my son, he's a neuroscience major at University of Pittsburgh, and we had a little snafu his sophomore year of high school. But he said, Mom, I'm just now connecting. He's kind of seeing what he wants to do. He's maybe medical school, he doesn't know. But when they connect with their learning in school, with their future, it's like light bulbs go off. Same thing with my daughter. So he's my third. My second hated school. She studied, same thing. She had consequences. And I said to her, she's like, Mom, I love my classes, her education classes. She loves them. She's like, I have to do well. I have to go study. And so we're saying that. And so I say that. Like when I'm saying, well, with these kids in middle school or high school or whatever can connect with their learning with school, with a vision for their future and a pathway to get there, they'll behave. And like that comes out, like rolls off my tongue all the time, but I'm watching it in my own home. And it's true. And they have to, the soft skills, they don't know. I mean, I said to walk up and anytime I said, shake my hand and they're like down. I'm like, no, I said, you have to look the person in the eye. I said, you're worth it, but they're not getting this. So, anybody that wants to volunteer for Junior Achievement, we've got lots of yes programs, yes, on the books.
Volunteer. However, I think that's one thing. My oldest is a freshman now, and the fear of letting her fail, is like, she did her middle school years in COVID, right? So like, I feel like I kind of prepared them in that way that like, you have to do your classwork. You have to, so for the first 6 months, I really tried like helicoptering them. And after that, I'm like, okay, you're on your own. And they maintained their grades very well. And I think it was a lot of life learning for them, and I think right now, that's the hard part. So I appreciate your comments of like letting your children fail and learn that lesson, but also letting them be individuals. Because I have two that are 16 months apart that are vastly different. One loves school, one doesn't, and I try to promote that you don't have to go to college per se. Yeah. If school and the academia world is not for you, that's okay. So I don't know if you have like any advice to like keep that going, or as a parent, like it's okay to let your kids fail.
Can I share a story? And it might be related. I have a 21-year-old. I have a 26 as well, but my middle one called me a few weeks ago. I think I shared that story with you, and she's crying hysterically. She's like, Mom, and I'm like freaking out. I'm like, what's wrong? What happened? She's like, I'm having an existential crisis. I'm like, what's going on? She's like, I got another job offer. And I'm like,
she works with me. Yeah. Aria, she has great kids. I hired 2 of them.
Yeah. I'm like, so you got a job offer. What's the big deal? She's like, I don't know what I'm supposed to do in life. Should I go this way or that way? I go, Aria, that's the joy of life, of trying to figure it out. And there's no right or wrong answer. And you might pick this job, but you're supposed to get there. Eventually you'll get there. So I said, embrace it and enjoy it. So when you talk about that, I think, especially raising kids, I think it's really important to instill in that, hey, you're failing, but the whole point of failing is growing and learning. So I never look at it that way. So.
And making mistakes. Yeah. So.
Just very quickly, I think something in early education that's very important is to make learning a hobby. Whenever someone asks me, what's your hobby? Well, I like sports, I like video games, but truthfully, I just like learning about sports and video games and people. And I think if you make learning a hobby, they'll carry that throughout life, and rewards will go from extrinsic which getting an A or a B, it's an extrinsic reward, to an intrinsic reward as they get older and they get that feeling of, I just learned something new and I can carry this for the rest of my life. And I think that's really important. And we say like, oh, like a 2 or 3 year old can't learn that. But I think if you just create an environment of learning as a hobby, whether that is reading as a hobby or just learning your ABCs, but just teaching them that learning, it's not necessarily what you're learning, because you're going to learn a lot of different things throughout life, but the learning process, that should be taught as the hobby.
Sure,
and I'd love to volunteer.
You can apply a building block. That's great. Yes. All right, we'll take it. No, but you're exactly right. And I think as a culture, as a society, we have to change the emphasis of how education is viewed, and that's exactly what it is, that we have to embrace it and enjoy it, and intrinsically we're putting the wrong value on it. But yeah, thank you everybody. I hope, it was a good discussion and it was informative, and thank you for your feedback.
And that does it for this episode of the Wilkes-Barre Connect podcast, brought to you by Park Multimedia. Wilkes-Barre Connect is powered by the Greater Wyoming Valley Chamber of Commerce. To learn more about Wilkes-Barre Connect, check out wyomingvalleychamber.org. That's wyomingvalleychamber.org.